Hello, and welcome to The Late Show with me, Abdullah Ibrahim. Now, with the release of a recent survey claiming that chocolate is indeed an aphrodisiac, sales in the UK have been soaring. In a minute, we'll be talking to Marilene, who carried out the survey, and we'll also be doing a cheeky little chocolate tasting to see what we think. But first, with a career spanning over 50 years, he's worked with some of the biggest names in the music industry, including Led Zeppelin, Elton John, Oasis, and Robbie Williams. It's Stuart Epps. Hi Stuart, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Hi.
So one of the questions I wanted to start off with is something you touched upon earlier, which is what does a music producer do? Because there seems to be a lot of misconceptions around that.
There is, absolutely, and it's a very good question. And the answer is, the best way I can describe it really is in terms of film. You know, you get a film producer, you get a film producer and you get a film director. Now many people think that a record producer is like a film producer, but it's not. It's more like a film director. So a record producer's role can be, you know, many things. It can be from finding the song for an artist to do, to playing on the session or whatever, but it's really the guy in charge or the girl in charge. It's like the captain of a ship in a way, making sure everything's technically brilliant and putting it all together in quite a technical way, but also having the vision of the production of how the record's going to go and how the song's going to go, how the arrangement's going to go. You know, whereas a film producer is the person who pays for usually the film, you know, and it's more a coordinating role. Sure. Whereas a record producer is very hands-on in the studio making the record work.
Okay, so what I'm getting from what you're saying then is it's quite a sophisticated blend of kind of this creative element, this visionary element, and this very technical,
That's right, you're
precise
right.
side.
That's very right.
Which actually leads me to my next point, which was to do with, it came from a personal place because my mother actually used to sing and play guitar and banjo, and she toured around the Middle East, and so there is a bit of musical
history for you.
History in my family. It hasn't been passed on, but that's another matter. And so she never necessarily wanted to take it somewhere. Yeah. But something I do wonder personally is if she had wanted to, because there are so many things to think about in music production, what makes a person big? What makes them stand out? So like what made Elton John stand out? Because I'm guessing there's actually quite a lot of work that goes into that people don't see. And that relies on having someone like you.
Well, the amazing thing is, even though I've been doing this 50 years and people have been making music, let's face it, for hundreds, thousands of years, in essence, what you need has really not changed. You know, no matter what technology comes along, whether it's X Factor or whatever it is, to me, for me, you're born with certain gifts. And some people are born with great voices, or they might be born with this mind that wants to write words and write music, you know. So my tip, if you like, is as early age as possible, finding out what your talents are, you know, because I think most people really know, but they might think, yeah, well, I'm a great singer, but wouldn't it be nice to write words and do this and do that? So, but I think it's a God-given gift, really, that people are born with. And in case of Elton, that you said, that's definitely the case. You know, the guy is just a genius at writing songs, but it's also he's amazing at many things. So that's unusual. You know, not everyone's great at all these different things. Playing the piano, I mean, he's an incredible pianist as well as a great singer. Sure. And over and above all these things is his passion for music.
Well, that was going to be my next question. It obviously requires talent, and I'm guessing hard work and maybe even passion. But sometimes there are external things that can get in the way. Speaking from a place of having a lot of friends that wanted to become artists.
Well, actually, a lot of it comes from your growing up, believe it or not. You know, and I sort of, you don't have to research too deep to when you talk about people like Elton, George Michael, Cliff Richard, and various other artists. If you look into their growing up, into their background, their family background, you'll find that there's something in there that's of a similar nature that spurred them on to be this crazy person who wants to go on stage in front of thousands of people and show off and do what they do.
Yeah, there's really quite, I think, almost maybe besides the talent, there's almost like a personality type or some way they've been conditioned.
Yeah, so that's all by accident, really. Accident of birth and accident this, that and the other. So it's a it's the it's all these things coming together to create a great artist.
Yeah, and just to kind of expand on that point, because we have been talking about all these different elements that come into it, I'm curious as well what some barriers might be. Have you ever worked with artists that maybe we're not familiar with or we're less familiar with, where because maybe they were going through something, or maybe because something happened at a certain time, their work didn't come to fruition?
Well, of course. I mean, I've worked with far many artists that haven't made it than the few that have. So yeah, that's much more prevalent, the ones that haven't made it that I've worked with.
Sure.
And there can be many reasons for that. Some people don't like to wear their heart on their sleeves and have the words that they care about written, or read by everyone. They might have this ability to write great words and maybe even to sing those words, but they're too shy. Shyness is not a good thing. Although actually most artists are in a way shy, but then they've got this other extrovert part to their nature.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really seems to run through a lot of the entertainment industry, is this this ability and this almost a necessity to be vulnerable and to let people into your story, to let them into it. A necessity
to be vulnerable. That's a good line.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's what I'm taking from what you're
saying. I've never heard that line before.
Yeah. I think that's also something that we've learned here as well,
Yeah.
and I think it's really about, being so comfortable in your story that you're willing to unravel it, flaws and all.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I feel like this has been a very inspiring conversation.
Good.
And there's been a couple of takeaways that I feel like I can use.
That's good.
I hope you like chocolate, because we're moving on to that next.
Is there anyone that doesn't like chocolate?
I have a few friends, yes, mainly vegan, but they can have dark chocolate. So following a survey on the effects of chocolate, UK sales are reportedly going up some 50%. Marilene is here to tell us why and to give us a guide on the sort of chocolate we should be buying to spice up our love life. Marilene, thank you for being here.
Hello Stuart.
Yeah.
So tell us, Marilene, what is it about chocolate that is creating such a buzz right now?
Well, first of all, there's something we need to understand. We have different types of chocolate. We're talking about whether we're talking about milk chocolate, white chocolate, or dark chocolate. In this specific instance, we're talking about dark chocolate. Why dark chocolate? Simply because when we're talking about the benefit of chocolate, we need to think about the amount of cacao the chocolate has. And obviously, dark chocolate has the highest amount of cacao. We're thinking about around 60-70%. And it's actually the ingredient in the dark chocolate which kind of have a specific effect on our bodies in general. One of the things that chocolate has is it stimulates the production of endorphin, which kind of give us a feeling of great pleasure. So now if we want to talk about the fact that chocolate is an aphrodisiac, we will have to think about consuming a lot of chocolate.
Sure.
Just one bar of chocolate will not change anything.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, it sounds like maybe the things that people are being led to think aren't proportionate to what the message that's being put across. Well, so we would be needing to eat a lot of chocolate.
Yes,
it's not like we could just have a bar a day.
As a professional dietitian, I would say yes. But as we know, and I'm sure Stuart, it's something you do. It's not. You won't be eating a lot of chocolate on a daily basis. So it really depends on the amount of chocolate.
Sure.
And I think nowadays we live in a society where people are highly influenced by what they read rather than what is actually happening. So I think it's more like a psychological effect than a real effect.
So I was going to say almost like a placebo.
Definitely.
Okay, so unfortunately it wouldn't be working for artists who want to be breaking into the industry and finding a way to make themselves happy then.
Well, not strict like.
Okay, sure. Well, would you like to taste any chocolate?
Yes.
Yes?
Well,
or are you okay?
Okay, I will recommend...
Could you explain the differences between the chocolate? Are there any here?
So yes, Stuart, like I mentioned earlier, you have a different kind of chocolate. Mm-hmm. So just on your right side, you have the white chocolate. In
milk
the middle,
chocolate.
the dark chocolate.
That's the
and
milk
on the left,
chocolate.
milk chocolate.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what that one is on the left.
I think it's milk chocolate,
a
mixture of milk and
right.
white.
Okay.
So depending on the kind of effect you want to see in your body, I will recommend you to go for a specific type of chocolate.
Okay,
well,
unfortunately that's all we have time for today.
Really?
But I would love to have a piece of chocolate after we're done. Tomorrow we'll be talking to child darts champion Rob Shepherd and chatting to celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay on becoming vegan. See you then. Bye bye.